Alright guys, I was going to go into this with a bit more of a fancy edited video, but these are all relatively lackluster, especially in comparison to most of the other stuff we've gotten for Dawn of Majesty, so I'm just going to go the straightforward route and go through these cards in case anyone's curious about it or maybe didn't see them elsewhere. So we got an info dump last night with a bunch of the cards from Dawn of Majesty that have yet to be revealed. I think maybe one or two of them intrigues me a little, but the rest of them seem kind of lackluster. So let's just go through them, and I'll just kind of react to them as we go along. I read some of the effects, but for the most part, these are all relatively new to me. So let's jump into it. We've got, first up is Master Model Diploman, level 5 Dark Machine effect. I like the typing. Obviously, it'll synergize with stuff like Orcus, but it doesn't seem great. If this card is Tribute Summon, you can target a monster in your graveyard and a monster your opponent controls. Equip that monster from your graveyard to the opponent's monster. While the monster is equipped this way, it loses attack equal to that equipped monster. So basically, you could equip, say, a Blue Eyes from your graveyard to your opponent's monster. That monster loses 3,000 attack. It's way too situational. And then your opponent's monsters equipped with equipped cards cannot activate their effects. So with equipped cards you control. So that's neat, I guess, because it doesn't restrict it exclusively to its own effects. So I guess in theory you could play this and then equip other cards from your hand or play weird cards to shut down your opponent's monsters, but that is so situational that I don't think it's even remotely worth talking about. But at least that's something that's there. Now this one I actually like a lot, Slower Swallow. It feels like this may be the best out of the bunch in terms of any type of real potential with the Lyrilusk support coming out. You can only special summon Slower Swallow with its first procedure once per turn. If there are 2 or more monsters on the field with the same level, you can special summon this card from your hand, so 2 level 4s, special it, etc. You can tribute this card, draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw during your next draw phase. So I really like that effect. It does not stack, in case anyone was curious. It's not a hard once per turn because it doesn't need to be. It doesn't stack. It just changes the number that you would draw for your normal draw. But I really like this. A level 1 Wind Wing Beast. It's a decent extender, and that effect could come into play in certain scenarios. I just think it's slow. I almost wish it was a quick effect because then you could tribute it maybe during the opponent's turn and, you know, not necessarily be forced to utilize it there. But I guess I understand why that's not the case. But this is the one that feels to me like it could have some actual potential with the wind stuff coming out in the near future. Next one is Exoskeletal Dragon Gaiarm, level 6 Synchro, 1 tuner, 1 or more non-tuner monsters. All hard once per turns on the effects. You can tribute this card, target 3 other Synchros in your grave, return them to the extra deck. It's fine, I guess. Target one of your monsters, special summon from the extra deck, equip this card from the graveyard to that target. When a monster equipped with this card declares an attack, you can draw 1 card. It's a hard once per turn, so it's not like you could do it on any kind of Synchro that can attack multiple times or benefit from that draw. Typing-wise, it's an Earth Dragon. I don't think it's good at all. I think it's just a complete pack filler. Next one is Messenger Spirit of the Fatal Eye, Psychopompus. Level 2 Earth Zombie Tuner, not terrible typing. If this card is special summoned, you can apply this effect based on which your opponent has more of in their graveyard. So if they have more monsters, you can banish this card, and if you do, your opponent banishes 1 monster from their graveyard, their choice. That's terrible. And then Spell or Trap, send this card to the grave. If you do, your opponent sends 1 monster they control to the graveyard, their choice. So that's better. Basically, your opponent has more Spell Traps in the graveyard. You can force them to send a monster they control to the grave. It's non-targeting. But, I mean, how often are they going to... I mean, I guess it really depends on the deck you're playing against. But that first effect is just terrible. And it doesn't seem like it's going to have any real use. And not to mention, these are hard ones per turns. During the end phase, if this card was banished last turn, you can special summon this banished card. So I guess if you banish it during your turn, during your opponent's end phase is when you'd be able to bring it back, if I'm reading that right. Not bad. Again, it's not that great. The typing is okay, but I think zombies have better options. Margin Trade, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Your opponent can discard 1 card to negate this effect. Otherwise, both players look at their opponent's deck, and if they do, they can choose 1 card from it. And if they do that, they add the card chosen by their opponent to the hand. So if you and I are playing, and you look at my deck, and you choose a Blue Eyes, I choose a Dark Magician from yours, we add those respective cards from our own decks to our hands. It's kind of bad. I mean, I guess you can force your opponent to discard a card, but at worst, you know, you're giving your opponent an extra resource by giving them any card from the deck, so I don't think it's all that great. It just seems like pack filler, honestly, which is probably what most of these are. Assorted Monsters, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn, reveal 1 normal monster and 1 effect monster with the same type, attribute, and level from your deck. Normal and effect with same type, attribute, and level. So, okay, if you do, your opponent randomly picks 1 for you to add to your hand, and you shuffle the other monster into your deck. So, there's a 50-50 chance you'll get to add a card you want, but you'd also have to play a normal monster that would have the same restrictions. I guess it could work in Blue Eyes if it wasn't a trap, like, because there's so many, you know, you actually play the original Blue Eyes, but then there's other, like, Blue Eyes Alternative, there's Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon, or not Chaos Dragon, I'm sorry. Actually, well, technically, I think Chaos Dragon has the same stats, so there are ways to utilize it there, but I don't think that's going to be anything drastic. As the Master of Beast Pleases, so this has Alpha on it, really cool artwork for sure. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if your monster battles an opponent's monster in its same column, you can turn all cards in your battling monster's column to the hand. You can only activate this effect once per chain. Oh, so you can have multiple copies. I don't know, it returns your monster, it's a trap, it's at the start of the damage step. I guess there may be some way to abuse this with stuff like Mekk-Knights, or maybe if you play, like, I don't know, all I think of is like the Swords Revealing Light combo from back in the day when you could like Giant Trunade it back to hand. Obviously, that's not what you're going to do here, but if you do have a card that's like face up and has an effect when it's activated, you can bounce it back, use it again next turn possibly. World Legacy Guard Dragon, tanky, I'm not sure. Again, seems really situational, but it does seem like, I guess there is at least a little bit of potential there for some weird gimmicky combos that might work. Mekk-Knights are the same column, but I don't see that being something they'd need or even really want to use. Paparazzi Disparazzi. Wow, they are nailing it with names. Level 2, or Link 2, Dark Fiend. Effect, attack 100. 2 effect monsters. You can only use each effect once per turn. When your other monster is targeted for an attack, you can change the attack target to this card and perform damage calculation. That's fine, I guess. When this card you control is destroyed by battle with an opponent's... Nope, alright, that's bad. Destroy that opponent's monster. If you do, gain life points equal to half the attack it had on the field. That's just terrible. I guess it's neat because it points left and right and it's generic, so if you want to, like, extra link somebody in 2021, you can maybe do that with this with some level of efficiency, but yeah, I wouldn't look at this as anything more than pack filler, which seems to be the theme here. 2 more, we got Stall Turn. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, that would negate the summon of a monster or the activation of a spell or trap card. So, for example, something like Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, or like if they were to work against like Borreload, Savage Dragon, if they were negating your spell or trap. So there is like some weird stuff there. Banish top 3 cards of your deck face down, negate the activation. If you do, shuffle that card into the deck. I actually like this card. I think it's neat, but it's not very good. People pointed out, you know, Solemn Judgment is just a lot better of an option, but there are some potential combos to be had with this, so maybe in the future, but I do think overall it's going to just end up falling as pack filler. Or they'll bump it to a secret rare in the TCG and it'll be $2 like Underdog and every other card we've gotten that seems to have some type of weird potential, but doesn't actually see any play. And then lastly, of course, Jar of Generosity. Place 1 card from your hand on the top or bottom of the deck. Normal trap. Terrible. I almost think if this was a spell, it might have a little bit more use, only because there's certain cards that, like, you need to draw, like, I think Afterglow is one of them, Slash Draw, stuff like that, so in a way, you could maybe manipulate the deck, or Rank Up Magic, the 7th one, I think is another one, so at least there'd be some cute, like, weird niche decks that could utilize it if it was a spell, but as a trap, it's infinitely too slow, and you're never going to use this. This is the definition of pack filler. So this is the rest of Dawn of Majesty. Overall, I think it's definitely a really good set. I don't think that these filler cards are going to be blowing anybody away with the potential of Slower Swallow, which looks really solid on paper, but I haven't had a chance to actually play around with the Lyra Lusk yet now that we have the new support. So let me know what you guys think. If you do enjoy the video, please like the video and subscribe for more. We try to cover all the new stuff as it's announced, as well as openings and all that stuff. You guys hear me say it every time, but I really do appreciate the support. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here at Loveshack.